Here's a banana. Calm the down.
Hello and welcome to the Part-Time Gamers, the gaming podcast for people with full-time lives. I'm Cernix, clocking in with my good friends, 9 of 12. Hello. And we have a special guest today, coming back I think this is the third time now, TV's Travis.
Apparently you're not sick of me yet, so I'll just keep coming back.
I mean, you keep on inviting me to your show too, so you're not sick of me, so it's a thing.
I mean, I've just been sitting outside this whole time, waiting, just waiting for you to be like, "Hey, you want to come back?" Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm here.
Yeah.
So
That's
doing all my shows from there.
Yeah. I still find it kind of funny the fact that it's like, it works out well for us because your show literally takes place like you stream your show almost right before ours, so it's just like. So I apologize for it being a long podcasting day. Wow, words work out of my mouth, please. But glad you're here. Glad you can make it. And
Always happy to be here.
Yeah. Granted, the game we're talking about, I don't think we had to twist your arm very much to talk about it.
No.
But before we get to that, let's go ahead and get to our water cooler talk.
You get that thing I sent you?
All right, September, let's go ahead and start with your article today.
Oh, well, I was having trouble finding anything that was interesting, so I just found some deals.
Always a good thing.
Yeah, deals are always interesting.
Wow. Some of these are pretty nice.
Resident Evil 4 is going for $19.99 right now.
On
EA
Amazon.
Sports College Football for $42.99. That doesn't sound like a great deal. But,
But it's normally like 60, I think, right?
Yeah, 70 actually on Amazon.
Oh, that's right.
Really? Okay. Well, I guess it is then.
You know, that was the franchise I actually worked on 20 years ago.
Really?
I was a QA. I was in the QA department for Electronic Arts Tiburon in Orlando for NCAA Football 2004. My name is in the credits of that game.
Nice.
Oh, neato.
Yeah, I was part of the QA team for the GameCube at the time.
Wow.
So I spent more time playing that game than any other human being I know. And it got to the point where once the game came out and I got my copy of it, I would take it over to a friend's house and I would be like, all right, you get to pick the teams. I'm going to win. And so he would pick like, the Akron Zips and I'd have to take on like the Florida State Seminoles and I'd still find a way to win because I knew every single part of that game. It was ridiculous.
Every in and out.
I did not know that about you. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a fun job I never want to do again.
At least not for games you like. I mean,
Yeah.
what a bummer. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is on sale for $40. Which is at Woot, which is cool.
Yeah.
I
That
can't
is
know
an
this.
excellent game.
Yeah, I know, especially all these the Nintendo Switch ones because those things never go on sale ever.
Right?
Right. Yeah, the Disney Classic Collection is $19.49. That's also a Switch game. What else? Seagate expansion card. I don't know why that's there.
It's Xbox
It's a
Series
sale.
S.
It's
Yeah.
on sale. It's like $50 cheaper though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I had a Series X, I'd probably be needing that by now.
Yeah. I'm looking at
Luigi's
this.
Mansion 3.
Yeah, Luigi's
It's on
Mansion
sale for
3 for
$40.
$40.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
And that's a good spooky season game to be picking up.
True.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts All-in-One package for $35 for the PS4. Mario Party Superstars for $40.
That's another
Which
one
seems
that would be
like they just came
good.
out with another Mario Party game, right?
Yeah,
So
it's Super Mario Party Jamboree. I think just came out recently. I mean, if you play a Mario Party, you've played pretty much all the Mario Parties. They're very similar. So having one of them at all would be amazing.
They're good to have in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, literally for parties, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Go figure.
you have your friends.
It's like it's in the name or something. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone can't be a Jackbox aficionado.
Yeah.
But I put the article in our notes in the chat for people to go find links to these deals.
Yeah, that's always good to have deals. Like I said, especially the Nintendo Switch ones, because like it is so rare to find Switch games on or anything Nintendo related on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First party Nintendo games never go on sale. So to have something like that is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Indeed. All right, and even though Theo's not with us today, he did throw in an article into the show notes, so I'm going to discuss this real quick. Apparently, so there's a something similar. If you've heard of Love, Death, and Robots, there's another kind of something like that, but it's all video game related. So it's going to have it's a video game anthology series of shorts and such called Secret Level. And apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger and Keanu Reeves are going to be voicing, doing voice acting roles in some of these shorts.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to. I gotta find out more about this, like when it's coming out and such, because it actually looks really interesting. Because it's not just like miscellaneous video game looking world. They're actually taking legitimate IPs. Like I think there's a Armored Core one in there. There's, I believe, not Gears of War. A Space Marine one in there. Strangely enough, there's going to be one based on Concord, which isn't even available anymore, but was at the time that this was being made. Oh man, Concord.
That's the thing with animation, right? It takes time. Yeah. And
well,
so
that's also the thing with games. Yeah. Because Concord, so kind of a tangent.
So
I apologize.
Do you think Cyberpunk's going to be one?
I do think Cyberpunk is going to be in there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, but a little bit of a tangent on Concord because the story with them gets even worse. Apparently, like the numbers were that they spent 8 years in development, $2 million, or was it 200 million? I don't remember. It was a lot of money, and was live for 7 days, something like that. Like it was ridiculously short amount of time. It actually is even worse because the amount of money that they said that went into the game for development was when PlayStation picked up the studio. They had already spent that amount of money before PlayStation picked up the studio as well. So the amount of money that it was like $400 million that they lost on this game. It is one of the most costly PlayStation games in history. Anyway, but that to say, there's going to be one based on Concord in there as well. I
also see Pac-Man, Spelunky, and some tabletop stuff like D&D, 40K. Mega Man has me intrigued because anything Mega Man, I'm all for.
Yeah.
That's where I want to hear Arnold. I want Arnold to be the voice of like Dr. Light.
Oh, if I could actually manage a good Arnold voice, I would do that right now, but I can't, so I won't. But I think the one that Keanu Reeves does the voice in is the Armored Core short, which is the one I'm most excited. So a lot of people know of From Software from Elden Ring and Dark Souls and that whole series, and I remember them from Armored Core 2. When I first heard about them. I love Armored Core. That's actually probably the one I'm most excited about of the ones they list here. And I like I said, I do think Keanu Reeves is going to be one of the voices in that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I never played that one.
There's been quite a few. There's fun, like reminiscing a little bit. Again, I blame the ADHD. So in the original Armored, I believe there was Armored Core 2, Armored Core 2, Another Age. I picked up Another Age first, which was the direct sequel in the same system. The problem is I got to a point where I just could not beat this game because it didn't have the dual stick controls or anything like that. You had to like switch to weapons to actually use them instead of using them on the fly like they do now. So I just cannot beat this game at all. So I found out something called Human Plus Enhancements. Went back to the original game. I had to buy the original game, play through that to get the Human Plus Enhancements, take that save file to the second one, which I originally played, and finally was able to beat him with that one. So it's a whole story for me. But yeah, I'm really like Armored Core. Love that. Love mecha in general. So
It's always fun.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking
growing
forward to
up-
the series because I loved Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, I actually have not seen Love, Death, and Robots. I like the concept of it. I like anthologies, shorts like that. I'm really looking forward to Secret Level because it is video game based. So,
I'm a fan of anthology series in general because I love short form storytelling, especially sci-fi and horror. I think make for really good short form stories.
yeah,
So it's probably because I grew up with things like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits and scary
Yeah.
stories to tell in the dark and all that. So I'm excited for this series. This sounds really cool.
yeah.
And if it does well, it can expand and bring in more stuff.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of like some of the other random video game series that might be able to bring in for animated shorts. Like I'm kind of surprised like they haven't gone into Warcraft or anything like that. That might be a good place to have some animated shorts. Like actually, probably
Well, but the issue there is that Blizzard does so much of their own stuff already
true
that it's kind of
true.
hard to do that. It's like saying, well, why don't they have Mario or Legend of Zelda? Well, because Nintendo would want that.
True.
They don't want to license that out.
True. But then again, these it's not from like one studio, it is from several different studios.
Yeah.
So like I think that'd be cool if Blizzard did their own and submitted it.
So
there's-
funny thing about shorts, I was watching some the other day because The Simpsons is on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
So we were watching, there's a bunch of Treehouse of Horror shorts and stuff. Particularly Lisa being a Disney princess, but being welcomed by the villains, and lots
Oh,
of
nice.
fun little snippets to go watch there.
Yeah. I think too, because I grew up with like Warner Brothers cartoons and all of those Looney Tunes, those were all short form,
Yeah.
short stories. And so that's just how I got started with storytelling.
Yeah. So another tangent about the short form. So there's actually a program called the 48-Hour Film Challenge that has I think they're worldwide now. I think they have locations all over the world now, which is literally the definition of worldwide. But anyway, they do have one in Detroit, which I believe is in July is when they do the one in Detroit. And it's literally you have to make a 4 to 6, I believe, minute short film in 48 hours from start to finish, from concept to completion in 48 hours. And you might think that like
That stuff is so much fun.
oh man, it like I got to do a couple of them a couple of years ago, or like 10 years ago. I haven't really done any since then because I got married and have kids and all that jazz now. And it takes place, I think, literally the same weekend as our anniversary. But yeah, it's just I commonly refer to it as just concentrated creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was living in Orlando, around the time that I was working at EA, actually, my roommates were all going to film school, and they had a 48-hour film festival, and I couldn't officially be a part of it, but because I literally 3 of them or 2 of them lived in my apartment, I was involved the whole time, and it was great. We basically didn't sleep for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And concept to completion made a short film, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And we had done similar. My friends and I did that in high school too. One morning I woke up and my friend called me up. He's like, "Hey, let's make a movie today." And in one day,
Love it.
we wrote, shot, produced, edited a short film, and it was awful, but we had so much fun. We were, I was like 17.
Yeah.
It was the summer before my senior year, and we just made it just for fun. It was a blast. I love that kind of stuff. So I love those 48-hour festivals.
And
because you just see like people just get crazy.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the creativity and the ways to think outside the box and the stuff that you can get away with and do and that you conceive and produce it in 2 days
yeah.
is
I
just
mean,
nuts.
And even some of the teams that were in like the Detroit competitions, they were saying that there were some teams like money, size of the like the equipment, all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. And a lot of it just comes down to what's actually in the film. Like they've had teams that had like professional level, like red cameras and stuff like that, like professional level stuff, and like 30 people and 6 horses in this team. And then said they've had teams that were literally one guy with an iPhone. And
Oh yeah.
the guy with the iPhone actually did better.
I can't imagine like doing that now with the way equipment is now compared to 20 years ago. Like I've got right here within reach, I've got great microphones that we didn't have back then.
Yeah.
And I've got like a better camera in my phone than the camera we would use back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stuff's cool. I just love short form anything.
So yeah, all that to say that we're all really looking forward to these shorts for Secret Level. All right. And finish up, we'll talk about my article, which is more layoffs, but in a kind of bizarre way, at least in our like American way of doing things. This seems really bizarre to me and would also be incredibly dick move-ish if you tried to pull this off in America. So Bandai Namco...
Oh, I read about this.
Yeah, Bandai Namco is, quote-unquote, elbowing my desk, quote-unquote, laying off these, like, about 200 employees. Now, the reason why I say quote-unquote is because layoff laws in Japan are very different than they are here. They don't really go into details or anything like that in here, but they can't just, like, you're out of here type of situation. So they're using what are called expulsion rooms, which are basically supposed to guilt people into quitting, or bore/guilt people into quitting
Shame
the
them.
job.
Yeah.
Which I know that honor is a very kind of core tenet to Japanese culture in general. To me, this would be an ideal situation. Hey, I get to get paid to do nothing. I'm okay with that.
Right.
It's like, first of all, this would not work in my situation. Just because, again, I would literally just take a nap on the desk and just still get paid for it. But also the idea of forcing someone to quit their job in this way would be extremely, like, just not a good move for any sort of company because of unemployment. It's like, because if you voluntarily quit your job, you can't collect unemployment. So there's a small part of the Fire Festival documentary on Netflix where the guy who's running it specifically says, we can't make payroll today, or we can't make payroll this week, but we're not going to fire anyone. And someone responds like, okay, so we don't get any money, but we can't, or either we don't get paid from you or we quit and we can't pick up unemployment. And it's like, so, but again, this is not in America. This is taking place in Japan. And oftentimes people who are sent into these expulsion rooms actually take the time to try to find another job, which is kind of nice, actually. But yeah, they said of 1,300 employees, about 200 had been moved into one of these expulsion rooms. And I believe as of the writing of this article, nearly 100 of them have already resigned. And this was on the 17th. I just
And I mean, you say this wouldn't work on you, but if you're still technically employed.
Yeah.
So say you can't sleep, you don't have Wi-Fi access. Although it does say a lot of these just spend the time looking for jobs, so
Yeah.
they must be able to have some kind of access to at least do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's such a different way of going about it that we're not used to based on American labor laws.
Yeah.
That, not knowing exactly how it goes down, it just sounds so weird. Like, oh, you have literally you're putting people in a room to bore them into quitting.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to lay them off.
Well,
you know,
in this
that
case,
would,
because they probably
I mean,
can't actually lay them off. But
Yeah, it's weird. It's odd because we're not familiar with it.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot of Japanese culture that we don't quite understand here. So,
yeah,
Well, I don't think it's unheard of here.
no,
Yeah, corporations definitely, depending on the labor laws in their individual state, and they don't want to pay unemployment if they're going to have to or whatever, they put you on trivial, meaningless projects and hope you get sick of that.
yeah, it's the equivalent of a retail store just not having any room for you on the schedule. They didn't fire you; they just aren't scheduling you for anything.
Yeah, which if that's the case, technically I'm still employed by a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore. From like about 12 years ago. 'Cause that's exactly what they did. Is they just stopped scheduling, but they never officially fired me. But I guess technically, since literally the restaurant doesn't exist, they fired everyone.
Yeah, I guess you're not going to get a shift meal.
No, probably not. Although, which is like, oh man. Anyways, trying to restrain the tangents. Yeah, it just this Core brought this up on their show this week too, and I thought it was weird. Just again because we don't understand. I personally don't understand the culture, and this just seems like a weird situation. But it's still interesting to see how other countries do this kind of stuff. And again, Japan is weird. Out of all of this, I think that statement is the truest of all. Is just, Japan's weird.
Different.
No.
Yep, very different to us.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Very true, and also just weird. There's some legitimate weird things that they do. Well, yes, that is also a true statement, but that doesn't detract from my argument. Anyway. All right, before we get back to work, did want to mention our Patreon, patreon.com/PTGcast. If you'd like to help us out a little bit with our monthly paychecks, you can go there. $1, $5, $10, it all is very helpful, and we really do appreciate it over at patreon.com/PTGcast. With that, let's go ahead and get back to work.
Morning break is over. Morning break is over.
All right, and one of the reasons that we are having Travis on the show today is because we were talking about probably one of his favorite games. I'm assuming so. Alan Wake 2, sequel to obviously Alan Wake, which I believe is the game that we had you on here last for to talk about.
It may have been.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the original.
I don't remember now.
I don't know if there was a game.
I know I've talked to you about that game. Yeah. I don't know if that was the last time I was here or if there was something in between it, but Alan Wake. Alan Wake was a game that took me 10 years to get to. But once I did, I was hooked. And then I played that game. I loved the hell out of that game, and it took me down the road. And that's when I realized, Remedy made Max Payne. I loved the Max Payne games. So then I started looking at their other stuff, and that's when I got into Quantum Break. I played Control. Alan Wake 2 came out, and I was vibrating in my chair waiting to play it. And then they release the system requirements for it, and I looked at them and I cried because my computer couldn't play the game.
Yeah.
So it took me a year before I finally was able to get around to it and upgrade my system. But I had a wonderful friend who gave me a hand-me-down video card that got me up to bare minimum specs, and it was enough to play the game. And so, Alan Wake 2, I finally started playing it, and it has been everything I hoped for. Yeah. It really, really has been.
Yeah, it's been fun watching you stream it too. And I'm a little sad that you haven't been able to get all the way through it yet, because I don't want to spoil things for you, because I've watched I've watched a complete playthrough of it, and it definitely goes places. And I will try to I will do my absolute best not to spoil anything. Because I know I don't want to ruin this game for you, because it does look amazing. like you mentioned, it's developed by Remedy Entertainment, published by Epic Games Publishing, which is one of the reasons I discovered why it's not on Steam. Is $59.99 for Xbox and PlayStation, and at least I believe that's the normal price. Not a sales price, but it's $49.99 on Windows via Epic Games.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is actually a little bit cheaper if you get it for PC on Epic Games. So this is, obviously, as we mentioned, this is a sequel to the kind of like mind-bending survival horror series that is Alan Wake. And what's unique about this one, in addition to the whole Alan Wake's part of this, is there's a separate main character that you're playing through. It's not exclusively Alan Wake in this case. And what's interesting about it is you can actually play their storylines completely separately. And as far as I know, there's not really any like key point, or like until you get to like closer to the end, I believe. I don't think there's any like key points in the middle where you actually have to switch from one to the other. You can actually play their stories almost to completion and then go to the other
The
one.
game actually tells you that at points. It's like, hey, you can swap back and forth, or you can just play one all the way through and then go back and play the other one all the way through, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
Because the first game you were just playing as Alan, and that was it. And then like Remedy is always doing something different because their games are very narrative driven.
Yes.
Any of them, if you played Max Payne, if you've played Alan Wake, Quantum Break, all that. In fact, Quantum Break, which was the game they made after Alan Wake, I don't know if you played that one or not.
I have not played it, but I have seen it played.
Yeah, like you would play a section of the game, and then there would be a TV show episode that you would watch. And the first time that happened, I was like, oh, cool, a cutscene. Oh, it's a live action cutscene. This is kind of neat. Like, I like that. And it kept going, and it was like a half hour long. It was a full narrative episode. I was like, all right. And when I figured that out, I'm like, okay, now I get the pace and the cadence of the game. Yeah. It clicked into place, and it was a lot more fun. And it had a great cast, too. Like, it had Sean Ashmore as the main character. Lance Reddick was in it. Yeah. It was fantastic. But, like, Remedy's always doing these interesting storytelling pieces. So then to have Alan Wake 2, and I managed to avoid anything about Alan Wake 2 before
which is
I started
surprising
playing it.
And impressive.
Yeah, it was a
How
lot of
far
work.
are you in now?
Oh, I mean, I'm several hours in. I don't know exactly where I'm at.
So,
I've done. I know I'm past one of my favorite things in all of the Remedy games, which is the musical moment.
Yes, which is awesome.
Because, like, in the first Alan Wake, you had the scene at the concert venue, and that moment was great. And then in Control, it was that hallway, and you've got the old Gods of Asgard song playing. And in this one, it was on the sound stage as you're like retracing stuff in Bright Falls, and the song is playing, and they've got the video boards in the background with like the interpretive dance going on at the same time. Is amazing. So I'm a little past that point.
Yeah. So
I don't know where that is in progression of the game, but I love the dual story and the ability to just pop back and forth wherever you want, because like Alan's story, the thing with it is they're both such different gameplay styles too.
Yeah.
Because they didn't just retread. Like, it would have been very easy for them to just say, oh, Alan Wake 2, we're going to take what Alan Wake was, we're going to continue that story and tweak the game a little bit. Do an Elder Scrolls thing where they make some tweaks to it, but it's effectively the same game or game style. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they could have done that. But instead, they were like, no, hold on. Because Alan Wake, like, the cool thing with that was that whole light and darkness aspect of it, and having to use the light in order to break the darkness in order to continue and move forward. They took that and they expanded on it. You still do that, but now you have the whole storyline with Saga Anderson, and that plays out a lot like the first Alan Wake. But then you flip over and you play Alan's story, and he's in the dark place, and you've got his writing literally changing the world as it goes, and you have to use that in order to progress. You have to go to a spot and play a different plot card, and the whole mind place and writer's room aspects of it, and just like it's just so well done, and all of it is just pitch perfect.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the fact that they have these two separate characters. You mentioned Saga Anderson, as well as who's an FBI agent who's been dispatched to Bright Falls to investigate these ritualist murders.
Casey, right? Her partner.
Yes,
Yep.
who is actually a character written by Alan Wake. So that's how you can
And
kind
can I
of.
tell you how much he reminded me of? Like, he sounded like a cross between T2 guy and
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his name.
Robert Patrick.
I'm assuming.
yeah. And he looked
That was the
a little like
T-1000.
him, right?
Yeah, he does a little bit.
Yeah, a
But
little
he
bit.
sounded like Harrison Ford, and it was just so. It just kept doing my brain a disservice until we got to see the live action
Yeah,
actual
but
person. And I was like, okay.
Well, and that is done. He is portrayed by Sam Lake, who is Sam Lake is the head of Remedy.
yeah, that's one thing that's actually kind of impressive. Is another thing is like the live action parts of this. I think are really well done, really well integrated into the game as well. But point I was gonna make before with the separate characters. So not only are they physically separated by literally dimensions, Saga being in the real world, Alan being in the dark place. The way that they manipulate their worlds and convey the story and how they do all their discoveries of things is very different as well. So like Saga has her mind place, I think is just what she refers it to it as, just the whole like mind palace concept where she's able to like visualize this this looks like inside of a cabin almost, and then like is able to place different bits of clues and pictures and stuff like that on the board in order to make connections. That's her whole kind of mechanic with that. And then you have Alan, who is able to literally change the world, not just the one he's in, but also like at least in the story, the things he's writing affects the real world as well. But directly, he's able to manipulate light with I believe it's a lamp. I think I'm trying to remember if in the story it was the lamp that the clicker was actually connected to.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So I do remember that correctly. But yeah, he's able to like if there's a flickering light in the world, he's able to like absorb it into the lamp, and it changes the layout, or vice versa. So that's kind of a little bit the problem solving element with him. Just like, okay, which version of this do I need to go into in order to advance forward? But I really like the fact that they have the two separate characters have different mechanics. And also Saga seems to be much more familiar with weaponry and stuff like that. Because she's able to equip a bunch more like the pistol, the shotgun, crossbow. I think she might even get a hunting rifle at some point. Whereas Alan has basically a handgun and flare gun, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, he gets a shotgun, but
he does?
it's more similar to, I mean, in the first game, that's what you had. You had a revolver and you had a lot of flares because light was your weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like Saga, the puzzles are different because the characters are different.
Yeah.
And those different mechanics, like Saga doesn't manipulate and change the world around her in the same. She is much more like Alan in the first game, where she's getting pages in the manuscript that are giving her clues as to what's coming, but she's just working with what's in the world around her. Alan can manipulate and change that world, whether it's with the lamp, whether it's with his writer's room. And I love that because it makes me do more work for the puzzles without the puzzles just being difficult. They're just different. And on top of like just styling and the fact that, there's a lot of Twin Peaks influence in this carried over. There's a lot of just like that weird, and it gets meta, and it's just Remedy is weird. They like we talked about weird already, but Remedy makes some weird stuff, and they go for it, and I love that.
Oh, one thing, like going a little bit broader to Remedy in general, I really think that they nailed it with integrating the worlds of Control and Alan Wake together. And I have a theory. I've no actual like evidence of this or anything like that, but I have a theory that once they made Control and saw that it's like, okay, well we're working with some kind of like pseudo supernatural level stuff. But we're doing that with Alan Wake as well. Well, what if we tried to like integrate these together? And that's when they did the Alan Wake DLC for Control. I think that was kind of like I feel like that was like a testing the waters type thing. It's like, will this work? Will people kind of accept that these two are in the same universe? And if it works, cool, we can go further with that. If it doesn't work, it's like, oh, it's just a non-canon DLC for this game then. I think that was a pretty safe way of doing it. I really like the fact that they've integrated these together. So there is, it's technically a spoiler for you, but it's also incredibly predictable. So the FBC does come to Bright Falls. So there is
I have seen the FBC already. I have gotten to that point.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's interaction between them and Saga. Oh, and I think there was,
I am to the point where she almost got the clicker to Alan, and then the FBC showed up and took him away.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So
I had to remember where I was, but that happened there. And by the way, I just wanted to mention Sam Lake does the motion capture and the likeness for Alex Casey, but he doesn't do the voice. The voice is somebody else.
And
and they did that with most of the characters.
Yeah, that is the one thing that takes me out a little bit, knowing that. But it's still very easy for me to kind of perk my brain. It's like, okay, I acknowledge that the person portraying Alan Wake in the live action scenes and the person voicing him are two completely different people. I can deal with that. But, I understand why they had to do it. But, and that's another thing that's kind of cool to me is the fact that the person voicing Alan Wake is the guy who played Darling in Control.
Yeah. Matthew Peretta. You know what movie he was in?
No, I don't.
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Really?
Matthew Peretta was Will Scarlett O'Hara in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Nice.
Alan Wake, the voice of Alan Wake, was in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
That's awesome. Well, there are so many elements I wish I could talk about right now that are be just like blatant spoilers, because it definitely. I believe. Now this isn't really a spoiler because I know this was mentioned during one of your streams, but there's this whole concept of loops. That is going on in this story, and one thing I guess it's not really a spoiler. So in that same concept of loops, you are rewarded for playing the game multiple times. There is new elements in New Game Plus that
I believe
is kind of representative of this looping nature of the game. There's one saying I really want to tell you, but it would be a spoiler, so I'm not going to. But yeah, it's just this Remedy is really knocking it out of the park with not just Alan Wake, but with Control. I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to be doing with Control next. With actually this happened kind of fortuitously today, because I think on Tuesday the first DLC for Alan Wake comes out called The Lake House, which at the time that I scheduled this show I didn't realize that when that was coming out, so that was kind of worked out well timing wise. So are there any elements, like what is your favorite element of the game so far?
I mean, for me, what I love about the game is it's the most frustrating thing for me as well, but it's the puzzles in the game are always like they don't they reuse puzzles, but they'll use them in different ways. Like one of the things from the first Alan Wake was you have your flashlight always,
Yeah.
and there'll be glow in the dark paint that only illuminates under your flashlight. And sometimes that points you to a thing, and sometimes you need to use that in order to solve a puzzle. So there'll be markings that you have to then figure out to figure the combination for a lock. But not always. Sometimes you find the stash. It's just it's a big Yeti cooler with a lock on it. And that stash might have a combination lock on it. It might have a key on it. So you got to find the key somewhere. It might have a combination lock that is a number pad, but then it's programmed to show you what the number pad is. So it's like, here's a free one for you. But I love the varying different types of puzzles. So it's not just, oh, okay, I got to figure out this 3-number combination every single time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can just use the screwdriver and pop the lock open, but there might be a different type of lock. I got to find the bolt cutters, which I still haven't found.
No.
That kind of stuff. So I love the varying of it. And then the storytelling. Remedy games, I have yet to play a game from Remedy that I have not enjoyed. I loved the Max Payne games back when I played those. Both Alan Wakes have been great. Quantum Break, the boss fight at the end frustrated the hell out of me, but I loved that
I remember
game.
that. Actually, I think I remember watching you stream that and how frustrated you were starting to get with it.
Oh yeah, I was just beating my head against the wall on it, but it was worth it. Control was unreal how much I like that. I've played through that twice already, and like I could go sit down and play it right now. They did just announce FBC Firebreak, which is going to be a co-op shooter set in the Control universe.
Wow.
Where you're playing members of the FBC going through the Firebreak, taking on the Hiss. That looks super fun. That they just put a trailer out for that. So there's just something with Remedy and the way that they package stuff together. And then, obviously I'm a big fan of weird in general. Yeah. And so going the Twin Peaks route, going the just weird, altered world items, altered world events. And that was one of the things with Control I loved, was finding all those strange objects and how they would, the refrigerator that somebody always had to be looking at, or the toaster that was, basically haunted, all that kind of stuff. It just tickles me. And so I love all that. And combining the world of Alan Wake and this story in Bright Falls with Control, and then bringing it back, and you've got Alan in the real world, but maybe he isn't. Has he made it out of the dark place yet, or is it Mr. Scratch, or are they the same person? And then you had Thomas Zane shows up, and there was a scene in this game with Alan Wake and Thomas Zane having a conversation. I'm like, wait a minute, they're the same person. Didn't we establish that before? But maybe they're not. But it's the same actor. It just spins you up in a circle and makes you scratch your head, and I love every second of it. It's just so well done, and the music is awesome.
Yeah, and again, I don't think it's a spoiler. They start expanding on. Oh well. I mean, Scratch has an origin story, of course. I mean, obviously he exists, so he has an origin story. They expand on the origin of Mr. Scratch in this, and which is interesting because it's again, the whole concept of time loops and all this stuff. So Mr. Scratch was present at the beginning of Alan Wake 1, but his origin is in Alan Wake 2, which takes place after Alan Wake 1, which is it's just everywhere.
Yeah, don't think about it for too long, or blood will shoot out your nose.
Yeah, pretty much.
You gotta be careful. And I haven't even learned anything about Mr. Door yet.
I'm
other than a small. They gave me a 1-line backstory. The sheriff that you run into, played by Sean Ashmore.
Yeah.
Says something about Wayland Door, I think was his name. And that's great. I am convinced, however, that had Lance Reddick not passed away, I feel like he would have played Wayland Door.
Yeah,
but he was probably too busy, and because he had been in a Remedy thing before in Quantum Break.
Yeah.
So I feel like they would have brought him back. However, I love David Harwood, so he's great to have in there. And he gets to do his own voice because he's not a Finnish actor.
Yeah.
Because that's the main reason that Sam Lake and I can't think of the name now. Ilka, I think is his name, that plays Alan. They don't do the voice because that doesn't fit the character. They both have very Finnish accents.
Yeah.
So that's why
the
they
characters
get,
are from America, I assume.
Yeah, because Alex Casey is like the hard-boiled detective.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that and I just love the mind-bending ideas of the fiction creating the world, but the world also being part of creating the fiction that creates the world, and that loop on itself, and the snake eating its own tail, and time and dimension and
Overlap,
reality.
you might call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just dimensionality and time and space not being finite linear things to me is always fascinating.
Yeah, and they definitely do a very good job with that in this, because as some if you really try to analyze it too much, it can start to make your brain bleed. But at the same time, if you just step back a little bit, it still somehow makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's like the storytelling, despite how loopy and everything it still makes sense. It's still so well done. I wanted to ask you as well, is there any specific story section or whatnot that you would consider to be your favorite?
I mean, at this point, it's hard to say. In this game, I've enjoyed all sorts of parts. I loved how they worked in Ati from Control into it, and you run into him a couple of different times, and he sort of knows you, but he doesn't. But I think from a story standpoint, I'm really curious where Saga's story is going to go, because to have her run into Thor and Odin and then be like, hey, you're my granddaughter, and she's confused by that, but then she's got a trailer in the trailer park. I want to see how that whole thing resolves, because I think it's really kind of cool to have her written into the story, because again, it's reality as part of the fiction, as part of reality. Which one came first, chicken or the egg? Was she always part of this world, or was she written in by Alan, or where does that go? I'm really curious for that. So those kinds of things getting brought up, or her, maybe it's because I just finished off that whole section with Coffee World.
Yeah.
That for me was a lot of fun, going to the coffee themed amusement park and seeing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and with her daughter, and I guess, I don't know if it's just me, that really piqued my curiosity, and I wanted to know
That's the other part of it,
what
because she's on the
world is
phone.
going on there.
Yeah, she's on the phone with her daughter to start the game out, but then the first time the waitress in the Oh Dear Diner is I was like, whoa, hold on, what do we got going on here? So
wait, what?
Yeah.
And then she called her again later, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
But
this is very multidimensional.
Yeah.
In more ways than we can count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see you, because I read a brief synopsis of the events and everything like that, and just trying to remember what, because I haven't seen it, and I haven't watched the gameplay in a little less than a year, shortly after it came out.
Yeah.
I think you're probably about a third of the way done with the story right now. There's still a lot to go. So, and it, like I said, it goes places and makes you rethink what you think about all the characters a lot of times. And it's and that's the thing is, like I said, there is a benefit for doing a New Game Plus as well. So you'll get the experience of the first playthrough, and then you'll get a little bit different experience going through the second time. So it's just so well done. And like I said, I'm looking forward to what Remedy does next. I do think at one point there was a deal with a studio to start doing Remedy-based movies. I think they had.
I just read about that not too long ago.
I think shortly afterwards, though, I think the entire staff of that studio quit. I'm trying to remember if that was the case or not, but if only we had some kind of internet connected device for which we could look up information.
Right.
As all three of us start Googling. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Remedy announces plans for TV and film adaptations of Control and Alan Wake. Annapurna will also help fund Control 2. So I don't know. Maybe that's still going on. I really hope so, because
if I remember right, whatever it was, there was a section of a company that did all walk out, but it didn't have to do with the live action adaptations.
Okay.
So I think it wasn't that, but
yeah, if that's the
case,
case.
I'm really curious because it's a cool story to tell. By the way, I'm about according to my Steam or my Epic thing, I've played just under 18 hours of Alan Wake 2. So I don't know. I'm slow, and I'm also bad at it. So you got to grade that on a curve a little bit.
Yeah, I think according to what I said, if you rushed through the game, it's still over 20 hours, somewhere around there. If you're more like a normal pace, probably 25 to 30, I think.
I do have something with the Alan Wake movies confirmed. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Because they were. Oh, you know what it was? There was going to be an AMC TV series at one point. That's what died.
Okay.
But the Annapurna stuff is supposedly gonna move on.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes because the world of Control and Alan Wake is really, really intriguing to me. So
yeah. I mean,
I hope they don't screw it up trying to shove such a big, complicated story into a small narrative form like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if they're smart, they do it as a series, and if they do it as a series, I feel like it took them
putting it in chunks and keeping it connected would be very challenging in that format.
It would be, but I also think that it took them 10 years to make a sequel to Alan Wake.
Yeah.
So they'll take their time with it and not. Sam Lake doesn't feel like the type of person that would get into a situation where he's not going to be able to make the story that he wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that gives me hope because their stuff is so narratively driven. They understand storytelling. And being able to adapt it to the medium.
I mean, I would have thought the same thing of Mel Brooks' son, but there we are with World War Z.
Well,
but how much of that was him in the movie? I don't really know. So,
I mean, we can hope. Right now, we don't know anything about we don't know what line of thought they're going to go with Alan Wake or Control or whatnot. We don't know if they're going to, it could be at this point in time, Alan Wake isn't necessarily a person; it's a world. Also, are they even going to separate it out, or it's are they going to refer to it as something else separately to integrate Control and Alan Wake to denote that they are the same world? I don't know. We don't really, other than that, there's at least somewhat confirmation that they're happening. We don't really know what they're going to go with, but I'm looking forward to it still. I mean, again, the storytelling, Remedy's storytelling in general is just amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, and they manage to make characters that you care about what happens to them.
That is true too. Yeah.
Which isn't always easy to do in a video game when you are portraying one of those characters. It can be tougher, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
To care about the characters around them because you're well, it's my story. I don't care what happens to them. I don't know. There's a balance to it, and I just think Remedy does such a good job of that. And it's all so well written because they just are like, we're just gonna go bonkers with it. We're gonna go weird, and you're gonna come on this ride with us.
I mean, they've already
Whether it's bending time or reality or giving you Jedi powers and control, whatever it is, you're just along for that ride.
and I think they've earned that because they've already established that things, time and space and things like that are different in the Dark Place. That, you know, they've already established that Alan can change. I mean, that's the reason why he's got captured into the Dark Place, is so that because there's a being that wants him to change things that can, so it can escape the Dark Place. You know, that's a thing, and they've already established. So just continuing on with that in this game, they don't have to really stretch that far, and they can just go nuts with, you know, an entire, you know, soundstage, dance number going on that tells you, like, okay. Also, first of all, well,
okay, no, that was my favorite part in this game so far.
That's what I was going. Well, I was expecting you to say, because it's probably one of my favorite parts in the game as well. I mean,
because it's just so silly and ridiculous, and
the song
loved every
sounds
second
so
of
good.
it.
It's so catchy.
Yeah. Oh no, those old Gods of Asgard songs are fantastic.
Yeah. I was really digging that song too. So that's probably having seen an entire playthrough. That still is probably my favorite part of the game so far. But
I didn't mind having to replay that like 3 or 4 times. Is all I'm saying.
Really, because you could have fooled me a couple times.
Look, frustration was there, but I still got to listen to the song over and over.
Yeah. Oh, but again, there was someone in the chat pointed out, it's like, because it's a soundstage, there's one point where you actually look at the floor and it literally says enemies that way.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, and sure enough, enemies start coming at you from that direction. Oh, so it's just, it's just such it deserves the awards it got. Definitely. And probably should have gotten more.
Absolutely.
Oh, but yeah, it's just such a fantastically done game. And for the part-time gamer aspect of this as well, we got.
I just flashed back to that thing at the Game Awards, though, and how much I dislike that performance, the live performance. But anyway,
I enjoyed it, but you know, it was supposed to be kind of silly. Anyways, but for the part-time gamer aspect of this, it is kind of segmented up into parts. And so there are kind of off ramps that you can take. And it's like, okay, I just got through the dance number segment. It literally says end of part. And, you know, and also the fact that you can take the different sides of the story, whatever side you want at the time, that breaks it up as well. You can, so it's like, okay, I feel like I've gone far enough with Alan's part right now. I can switch over to Saga and vice versa and kind of mix it up a little bit. So there's definitely off ramps for segmenting up the game for the part-time gamer aspect. But this is also kind of the kind of game you don't really want to segment it up. You just want to keep going. It's like,
that's true.
I mean, I looked at the runtime. I think it was either your last stream or your stream before. It was like 4 hours. I was like,
yeah, it was the last one. I was like, nope, I got a Saturday afternoon. We're going to dive in and go for it. And I had 4 hours, and it didn't feel like 4 hours at all.
Yeah.
Sign of a good game there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially one that's so narratively driven, to have that like having the pacing down so well that it's like 4 hours does not feel like that. Oh, I think is another good point. So overall, great game. We all agree on that. And like, this is the one kind of bad part about it being so narratively driven and having to do this show and talk about it is I've already seen pretty much the whole story for both games, for Alan Wake 1 and 2. So I've kind of spoiled myself for the whole game. But if you've been lucky enough, like Travis, to not get spoiled, it's definitely worth a shot. Definitely worth a playthrough, or multiple playthroughs to get more stuff. But Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Remedy games do that. I've played through, like I said, I've played through Control twice, fully, and I found new stuff the second time through that I never really paid attention to before. There's always Easter eggs to find, and Alan Wake is the same way. So
Yeah.
it's great because you can just pick up and play a part of it and then come back to it later, or you can sit for a marathon session of it and you can replay it, and the story is still compelling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
like they just like for me as a movie guy, there are certain directors or certain actors that like if their name is attached to a thing, I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, like I see Mike Flanagan, I'm like, all right, you've got me. You had me at hello. I don't care what it is, I'm going to watch it. I see, you know, whoever it is. Remedy is like that for a game. If I see Remedy Entertainment, I'm like, yeah, because they haven't missed yet
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. And I think that's because they haven't had a huge number of games in their repertoire over time, but all of them are such well-crafted stories and everything. So I think that really plays very well for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we've I could go on about like other story elements, but I desperately do not want to spoil it for you. So this is probably a good place for me to stop. But
Probably,
everyone,
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you like what you've heard and you'd like to help us out, a couple of ways you can do that is you can give us a review over on Apple Podcast. You can follow my Twitch and or YouTube channels for a live recording Sunday nights starting at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. If you like watching, well, I'll let you plug your own stuff later. So, or you can become one of our patrons over at patreon.com/ptgcast. If you'd like to contact us, you can with our email, parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com, or you can join our Discord channel. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please join us next week as I scare the crap out of myself for our October game night. I'm going to be playing Phasmophobia in VR.
Oh boy.
Which I have not done yet. I've played plenty of Phasmophobia, just have not done it in VR. I'm going to be playing with one of my friends named Mare, who has, I think, literally close to 1,000 hours in Phasmophobia. For our episode on Phasmophobia, however long ago it probably was either last year or the year before, actually. She was our guest, and she literally can like tell where a ghost is by a fork being moved 3 inches to the left. That's not even an exaggeration. She can literally do that. But yeah, she's going to be joining me for Phasmophobia next Sunday. I am both looking forward to this and also terrified of this because you can probably guess why. Anyways,
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you have someone to hold your hand.
virtually at least. Not physically, but virtually. But anyways, I'm Sean. You can find the show and the rest of my work and links to my socials, including the Discord channel, my Twitch and YouTube channels, and the Apple Podcast listing using the link bit.ly/CI Productions. Remember, where can people find you around the internet?
Just head over to 9of12.com. That's NINEOF12.com to find all the stuff I make.
And you can find some of Theo's work over at swellcast.com/thatoneweirdo and rabbitinredradio.com. Travis, where can people find you?
You can go to tvstravis.com. It's got links to all my socials. It's got links to all my shows, Discord, Patreon, all that kind of stuff is there. I've got some new stuff in the works that'll be going up there and in Patreon as well. So tvstravis.com.
It really is nice, isn't it? Isn't it great to be able to actually get like your online persona as a website name?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. I don't know if I would be able to get Cyrenex.com, but I severely doubt that. And also, the reason I like tried to future-proof myself a little bit by having caffeineinducedproductions.com. So it's like if I do more than just like one podcast, right? Like, anyways, that's the reason why I don't have Cyrenex.com. Anyways, everyone, until next time, we are the Part-Time Gamers clocking out.